Mate Malaya Dvajapanya Sanjate Matangavara Mate Malaya Dvajapanya Sanjate Matangavara Mate Malaya Dvajapanya Sanjate Chatwari Shankari Chatwari Shankari Chamundeshwari Chandragadhari Aye Gauri Chatwari Shankari Chamundeshwari Chandragadhari Aye Gauri Radha Nidara 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 Mama Radha Nidhi Sani Sada Nisada Mama Radha Nigari Nidhi Sani Rapa Nirama Radha Mama Mama Radha Nidama Radha Nisadi Nidada Mari Mari Dada Sasa Mari Dada Mari Sani Dada Padada Nidada Sara Rida Mari Sani Dani Sani Nidada Pamadara Nidada 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 Nipamadara Nisani Sadani Sada Pamadara Nigari Niri Sani Dapani Damadara Mama Badagani Damadara Nisani Dadidara Madani Madidara Sada Padani Dara Mahari Sani Dara Madara Nidara Sada Rida Mahari Sani Dara Nisani Dara Pamadara Sakala Karadi Puna Chaturada Viramada Samaya Samara Sadada Sulamadaya Madhuram Vajanara Mujiratara Swaraya Gita Sukhadani Jabhavarasigaradata Mahishurarata Narvani Shri Krishna Rajendra Radhaye Sada Pore Mahide Hari Kesha Manohara Sadaye Dada Sakala Kalani Puna Chaturada Vira Mara Samaya Samara Sadada Sulamare Daya Madhuna Vachana Dada Sada Ruchira Dada Swaraya Gita Suhadani Jabhavarasika Varada Mahishurana Narvadi Shri Krishna Rajendra Radhaye Sada Pore Mahide Hari Kesha Manohara Sadaya Mate
उल्लास पल्लवित पालित सप्तलोकी निर्वाह कोरकित नेम कटाक्ष लीलाम श्रीरंग हर्म्यतल मंगल दीपरेखां श्रीरंगराज महिषीं श्रियम आश्रयामः आकारत्रय संपन्नाम अरविंद निवासिनीं अशेष जगदीशीत्रीं वंदे वरदवल्लभाम् नमस्सदसे नमस्सभायै. A moment of great delight to be in this very premises to be presenting the inaugural program titled Nari Shakti Stri Shakti in this very beautiful Nagari of Dubai. This city has been welcoming me for the last 13 plus years, extremely indebted to the beautiful city, to the Astikas who embellish and adorn this city. And here at this moment, a token of gratitude. Gratefulness is a quality which should never be overlooked, they say. So I'm extremely thankful to Satish, Rajalakshmi Fine Arts for hosting all of us here. And this being a Friday evening and being a ticketed event, when Satish was telling me, I said Friday evening ticketed event, I should only request the Devas to come and listen. And he said, you don't know about the Astikas of Dubai, and here they are. So thank you for beating the traffic on all possible freeways and to be present. So while we began, we paid our obeisances to Mata, and this was in the Ragam Khamas, written by a great veteran called Harikeshanallur Muttaya Bhagavatar, in the very presence of the Vodayar Raja of Mahishuru, which is Mysuru. Kannadadavaru idara illi? Oh yes. Bengaluru? Oh, Veena Stores, Vidyarthi Bhavana ide. So, the topic chosen for the day is Nari Shakti, Stri Shakti. While I'm speaking about Nari Shakti and Stri Shakti, I would like to listen the voice of the Naris here. How many Naris here? See? Okay. So, when we begin with Shri, the Prathama Shloka of Chatushloki says, Kantaste Purushottamaha Phanipatihi Shayyasanam Vahanam Vedatma Vihageshwaraha Yavanika Maya Jaganmohini Brahma Ishadi Surabrajaha Sadaitaha Tvat Dasadasi Ganaha Shrihi Ityevacha Namate Bhagavati Bhrumakkatam Stvam Vayam. So the one letter which the Shastras invoke Mahalakshmi's Shri. Shri is both a letter and a word in itself. Like how chapter 3 of Renan Martin, while discussing articles, suggests that a and an are indefinite articles can be treated as words. This was a 1-mark question. So a is a letter in the English alphabet. It is also a word. You can treat it as a word. MS Word today counts it as a word. Similarly, Shri is both a letter and a word in itself. So if at all your prospect grandparents or parents expecting a girl child, just call her Shri. It solves so many problems. That's the only word that needs to be written on the Starbucks cup. You don't have to say, what can I call you? Shri. How can I call Shri? Shri. So the word Shri is a repository of all auspicious attributes. So to that Shri, who is the Stri, who is the Nari, is this event. What does Stri give us? For that I need to begin somewhere. In the Ramayana, when Dasharatha had decided to coronate the eldest of his sons, Rama, as the heir apparent, the Yuvaraja, he went and sought the opinion of his ministers in Bharata Desham then, ministers were educated there. So he went and asked if Rama could be made the heir apparent and what was their opinion. Vasishtha, who was a Purohita, stood up and said, this is a line from the Kamba Ramayanam, which is a beautiful transcreation of the Ramayanam in the Tamil language. Tamil pesum astigarkal unda? Oh, wow. So, Vasishtha said, Unnum Neerinum Avanaye Uhappar. People love him. You know why he has to be made the heir apparent? Because people love him more than the water that they drink. This was the reason he gave. Because water is so essential for us. It has so many humanly attributes where it flows from a higher level to the lower level naturally. It is a universal coolant. So these are all certain attributes that we need to imbibe. So water is essential. And Thiruvalluvar, the great saint poet of the Tamil tradition, has attributed 10 kurals to the rain. So he says rain is so important. While I discuss about rains, it is very important that I shift my post to a great composer whose 250th year is being celebrated this year. His name is Muthuswami or Muduswami Dikshita. He had brothers and he had a sister, and he lost one of his brothers called Chinnaswami. He was on a sojourn to search for the other one called Baluswami. So while he was searching for his brother Baluswami, he went close to Ramanathapuram. That is when it was a hearsay that there is a person, a great Vidwan, who plays a new Western instrument. I'm talking roughly 175 to 180 years back. So there's someone who's playing a Western instrument. It is from a Mlecha Desham. It is not ours, but it sounds good. So the moment he heard that there is some Vidwan who's trying something new, he knew it would have been his brother whom he was in search of. His name was Baluswami. This Baluswami made acquaintances with the East India Company, and that is when he started playing the violin. So violin was introduced to Carnatic music through Dikshita's own brother. So when he went to Ramanathapuram, he came across a village called Yettayapuram. When he met the residents who had inhabited that place, they came up to him and said, "Sir, there has been no rains in our place. So please bring us some waters. We would like to have some waters from the sky." And people say that you carry a very divine veena. Why don't you play with that? That is when Muthuswami Dikshita invoked the Nari, the Stri, the Shakti, and called her that you are the one in the form of rains, like water that flows from higher level to lower level. Shower your grace on us. And he invented a raga called Amrita Varshini. That is when he prayed to the Devi and said, "Anandamrita Karshini Amrita Varshini Shri Nandanadi Guruguha Samrakshini." Hey Mata, you have been the protector of me. Protect these people as well. People invoke mercy. We see you as water. We see you as rains. Hey Nari Shakti, come as rains. Have you brought umbrellas? So here we present Anandamrita Karshini.
Shri Nandanari Samrakshini Shri Nandanari Samrakshini Shri Nandanari Samrakshini Shri Guru Guha Janani Shri Nandanari Samrakshini Shri Guru Guha Janani Chidrupini Shri Nandanari Samrakshini Shri Guru Guha Janani Chidrupini Sanand Vidaya Nilaye Saraye Sanand Vidaya Nilaye Saraye Varshaya 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 Sanand Vidaya Nilaye Saraye Sarate Srishti Tave Dvam Santatam Chintaye Amriteshwari Sarirab Varshaya 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 Nom 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 अमृतवर्षिणि अमृतवर्षिणि हरदि पूजिते शिवे भवानि अमृतवर्षिणि
When such is the rendition, why would Devi, Stri, Nari, Bhavani not come as rains? She just poured with the academic acumen that Dikshita had, with the devotion that was interspersed. There was nothing but rains, rains of mercy and rains of water. So Nari Shakti is celebrated for water as rains. When it rains, it falls on the hillocks, on its tops. One of the rivers that we have always adored is Ganga. In fact, even to the Chola Raja who followed the veteran Raja, his name was Rajendra, his accomplishment till date, the inscription states, was to bring a pot of the Ganga waters from the dynasty called Pala dynasty of Vangadesham. That's why we call it Gangai Konda Cholapuram. So he brought the waters of Ganga. So Ganga is so important. When Kaveri is being described, Alvar says, Gangayar Punidamaya Kaveri Naduvu Pattu. Whenever there has to be a benchmark for a river, it was always Ganga. I'm sure somebody from the west will say it's Mississippi. So, but given our restriction to understanding the scriptures that we have bequeathed, it would be with Ganga. When Kaveri is spoken about, a poet says, Dugdabhir Janako Jananyahamiyam Shrireva Putri Varaha Shrirangeshwara Metadarhamihakim Kurvamiti Vakula Chancha Chamara Chandra Chandana Maha Manikya Muktotkaran Kaveri Lahari Karair Vidhadati Devasahaiva Shriya. When they say from Kutakachalam, Kodagu district of Karnataka, when Kaveri comes, as she flows, she wishes to carry gifts for her daughter Ranganayaki in Srirangam and son-in-law Ranganatha. So when people throw in emeralds and rubies and topaz and sapphires into her, she carries all of them with the broken sandal sticks that abrase and cause a good fragrance to her waters. And when she sees Shivana Samudram, she jumps. Hogganekal, she jumps, and as she comes close to Srirangam, she wants to embrace her son-in-law and her daughter, and she splits as two and gives that island called Srirangam, says the poet. Anybody from Srirangam? Well, see, the beauty is, when we speak of Kaveri, there's an emotion. When we speak of Ganga, there's a bigger emotion, says most of our Puranas. But we need to understand it from a geological perspective. The last ice age that we know is between the 10,000 and the 12,000 BCE, when it was all thick. There were glaciers, ice all around, and slowly people had to see the sun. That is why every mantra will say Sahi Shri Amrita Satam, and then they would say Tvam Jiva Sharada Shatam. Shata was 100. That's the human age. Sharada Shatam. In the Amarakosha, Sharad Shabdam. The word Sharad means Varsham, year. Sharad also means autumn. So people were waiting for when it will rain, when they can see the sun shine, when they can see the leaves, and when they can see the flowers, when they can see the leaves fall, and they can see the trees bereft of leaves. So they were waiting for the autumn. So they would say, Sharada Shatam. So one such dynasty in Ayodhya, the Rajadhani of Kosala province, was waiting for emancipation of its ancestors. This goes to the very history mentioned in the Balakandam of Valmiki's Ramayana, where there was an ancestor to Rama called Sagara Chakravarti. Sagara performed the Ashwamedha Mahayajna. In the Ashwamedha Mahayajna, there is a sacrificial horse. It's tied to the Upastambha, and the yajna is conducted for a certain period of time. And as usual, the sacrificial horse went missing, and as usual, the suspect was Indra. And so the king sent his very many sons, quite an unbelievable number that we know. It is 60,000. So he didn't have to send them to school. They were the school. So, they went in search of the horse, it is said, and finally spotted that tied to the Parnashala of a great Maharishi called Kapila Vasudeva. They thought for a moment that this Maharishi was engaged in stealing and they wanted to attack him. The Rishi thought that they were having a mistaken identity and they had come and they had to be reprimanded. He just said a hunkaram and they were turned into a heap of ashes. So now, when the sons didn't return, the king was worried and he had one spare at home. So his name was Asamanjas. And luckily, this is also one of the words with which people admonish in most of the Tamil homes, and it is called Asamanjam. So the son literally was just not a namesake son, he literally carried the etymology of the word. So the son was asked to go in search. The son went in search. He couldn't spot. That is when Garuda Pakshi told, Ganga himavato jeshtha duhita purusha rishabha tasyam kuru mahabaho pitrunam tu jalakriyam. The only way that your brothers can see some kind of vimochanam is when the waters of Ganga are brought. Now, where will Ganga come? Because we have just passed the ice age. So that is when people said somebody has to take austerities towards Brahma, because Brahma has the reservoir in him. He's got that huge container in him. He has to release it. So Brahma said, I will do it, but somebody has to carry it. That is when his successors, one of them was Amshuman. Amshuman said, I can try. And he tried, he couldn't still get it. And after that came his very successor called Bhagiratha. Bhagiratha stood in Panchagni and started performing austerities, and he said, let me try with Mahadeva if he can take it. Mumude mumudo lokaste na toye na bhaswata kritabhisheko gangayam babhuva vigatalmashaha, says Srimad Ramayanam. Finally Shiva said, I will take it. So with the waters that emanated from the Kamandalu of Brahma touching the feet of Narayana and coming to the matted locks, Jata Juta Makuta of Shiva, the waters came and stood there. Shiva did not release it. Then Bhagiratha said, all my austerities will become a useless tinsel if you're not going to help that flow. Then he removed one of his loose jatas and said, let one stream flow. The waters had to be led somewhere. So Bhagiratha said, I will start taking my chariot, you follow me. So as she followed Bhagiratha, she became Bhagirathi. This Bhagirathi has various tributaries coming into her, and she has distributaries as well. In a place where she meanders from the south to the north, which is atypical of her motion, that is the place where two tributaries come and merge. One is called Asi and the other is called Varuna. This Varuna and Asi becomes Varanasi, that kshetram where she comes. So it is deemed a very important kshetram, Varanasi, which is also called Kashi. Kashi is the place where most houses that have traditional marriages allow their sons-in-law to sulk with them for about 10 minutes and take a trip not till the main road, because in Bangalore you'll get in traffic there as well. So the homecoming son-in-law has to just take 10 steps forward and come home, and the father-in-law has to convince him that all the charges have been paid for the mandapam and they are non-refundable, and he can't sulk or frown now. He has got better moments to do it later. And to commemorate this event of Kashi Yatra, a sweet is also served. You know what is it called? Kashi Halwa. So Kashi brings us so many memories, from the halwa to the yatra to Varuna and Asi meeting, where she meanders from south to north, to the Banarasi brocade, to the Peda. So Stri Shakti, Nari Shakti just doesn't come as rain through Amrita Varshini. She comes as waters of Ganga. That is where Dikshitar says, Gange Mampahi.
Gange Mampahi Girisha Shirasthite Gange Mampahi Girisha Shirasthite Gambhiragaye Sangeeta Vadya Priye Gange ma pahi girish shirasthite gambhiraye sangeeta vadya priye gange ma pahi अंगजदारमुदे असिवरुणामर्ये अंगजदारमुदे असिवरुणामर्ये मगरी गरिसा निरव असिवरुणामर्ये गम 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 गरि गरि मगरि सरि 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 रव शिवरुणा रव मम मग गम पम मम गरि रे ग मम गरि रे सरि रे तम मग मम गरि ग शिवरुणा दस दस रि ग सरि पम ग दस दस रि ग सरि मगरि दस दस रि ग सरि गरि सरि शिवरुणामर्ये अक्रूर पूजिते यज्ञ जनानन्दे सकल तीर्थमूले सद्गुरु गुहैले सकल तीर्थमूले सद्गुरु गुहैले वरजगोपाले व्यासादि कृपाले गंगे महाबाली गिरीश शिरसिते गंभीरराये संगीत वाद्य प्रिय गंगे महाबाली
It has been a practice, I'm sure most of you can relate to it. When people used to go to Kashi or to Prayaga Kshetra where the rivers meet, it was custom for us to ask them to bring a small bottle of Ganga. So it was called Ganga Shambhu. If you can remember some of the sannidhis in the traditional households, there will be a small Ganga Shambhu. It has often been regarded that when rivers meet, there is a certain significance, there is a confluence, that is Prayaga Kshetra. One Acharya goes on to state that if you see the beautiful braid of Mahalakshmi, it is akin to obtaining the punyam of bathing in Triveni. How is the question? Of course, he uses the license of being an extraordinary poet. He says that Mahalakshmi's long hair, which is dark, effervescent, radiant, curly and oily, has been put into a braid. Chikuram, Bahulam, Viralam, Brahmaram, Rudulam, Vachanam, Vipulam, Nayanam, says Leela Shuka and Krishna Karnamritam. So when this long hair in the form of a braid has jasmine flowers that adorn it, then I'm sure if you have friends from the beautiful state of Vangadesham, which is Bengal, they take about 20 grams of kumkumam every day and apply it from here. It goes a few centimeters from here. So there is the red vermilion, then there is the white color that is associated, pristine white, that's blemishless, to the jasmine, to the black hue. So the black color of the braid in Mahalakshmi is a representative of the black waters of Yamuna. The white color that is pristine and blemishless is associated with Ganga, and the red color is associated with Saraswati. Since all these three, because when you make a braid, I have a daughter, so I do make one. So you distribute that into three branches, and then there is one here, two here, one here, two here. I could have done a lek dem as well, but now assume that I'm good at it. So there's one and there's two. And the third one is never seen. That's called Antarvahini. Saraswati is never seen. Since this braid has three, it is called Triveni. So the Acharya says, the Triveni Sangamam of Prayagaraja Kshetra is akin to Mahalakshmi's braid. He says, Sindurakantam Jagadamba Mallim Sarabhiramam Chikuravalim Te Manyamahe Devi Kalinda Kanyam Ganga Saraswat Yuditanu Shangam. So he talks about Ganga, he talks about Triveni. But in Triveni, when we have spoken about Ganga, why will Yamuna leave us? Because Krishna Avataram has had an Anubhavam all along Yamuna. And Jayadeva in his Ashtapadi talks only about Yamuna, where he talks about a divine evening when Radha and Krishna were supposed to meet by the serene waters, flowing waters of Yamuna. And he said, let's meet by the banks of Yamuna. A lot more can happen over a cup of coffee. So why not meet by the banks of Yamuna? And what transpired in the late evening till the morning is what is recounted by Jayadeva as Ashtapadi or Gita Govindam. So Gita Govindam essentially lasts from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. Because when Yashoda was worried that she couldn't spot her son, if Radhika and Krishna had not returned, it was time for the FIR. So Radha returned by 5 a.m. So that is what makes Ashtapadi. Similarly, Yamuna is such a great witness, and Yamuna is deemed so very important. Here again and again, whenever I speak about Bhavani, rains, water, Ganga, Kaveri, Triveni, Yamuna, prefix it with the topics Stri Shakti, Nari Shakti. We are talking only about you. Men, not you. So it is all about how Ganga and Yamuna are important. In the Yamuna segment, it is extremely important to note in Srimad Bhagavatam vis-a-vis Ramayanam. In Ramayanam, in Aranya Kandam, when Rama knows that Sita has been abducted, there is something untoward that has happened in the Parnashala because the fruits were scattered. The animals were running in the southern direction. So Rama knew something was wrong, and Lakshmana too confirmed. He said, I too feel that something must have gone wrong. That is when Rama goes and asks Godavari, Godavari, tell me where Sita is. Now, to a man who's lost in love, love lone, he will ask even inanimate objects, says Kavya Shastram. But nature has its own sentient ways of replying to us. The river, had it had the Atma in it, it could have meandered towards the southern direction, telling that she has been taken south. But there, Valmiki says, Godavari was so worried and perturbed that if Ravana got to know that she has informed Rama, he could hamper her. So she kept quiet. Knowing a past precedence that one lady has not helped the other lady, Yamuna took the efforts on her. When Krishna had to be transported, Tamadbhutam Balakamambujekshanam Chaturbhujam Shankagada-yudharyudam Srivatsalakshmam Galashobi-kaustubam Pitambaram Sandrapayoda Saubhagam Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Tvisha Parishvakta Sahastra Kuntalam Uddhamakanchingada Kankanadi Bhiri Virochamanam Vasudeva Maikshata, says Dashamaskandam of Bhagavatam. When Krishna had to be shifted from one place to the other, Mathura to Gokulam, Yamuna gave way. She said, it's okay, even if Kamsa gets to know that I gave way to Krishna and let him harm me, doesn't matter, I take the risk on me. So the project of unlearning and learning has happened with the Nari Shakti, with Yamuna and Godavari. So Yamuna becomes a beautiful witness to the Shringara Bhava of Krishna. This is where one of the Sahityam says, Jamuna Kinare Pyare Kadamathar Mohana Basuri Bajave. Because that moment when you read Bhagavatam, the moment you start reading Bhagavatam, the moment you start listening to Bhagavatam, you get lost in your own world. It's like the pensieve of Harry Potter. So you get into it. So in Bhagavatam, when Krishna plays the flute in Tribhanga, Tribhanga is a posture in Natya Shastra, where at three relevant places you make a bend. Relevant places you make a bend. So if the leg is crossed and then the knee goes 1 inch forward and the shoulder comes tilts like this, it is called Tribhangam. So Krishna stood in Tribhangam and started playing Tarunaruna Karunamaya Vipulayata Nayanam. When he plays and closes his eyes, it appears as if the petals of a newly blossomed lotus were just attached to his moon-like face with the blow that he gives, and the Saptaswaram falls right in the exact places. And below the Kunda Shakha, when he plays with the black waters of Yamuna, with the sands that look as if argentum silver were made into a fine powder, through the nectarine rays of the moon that goes through the crevices of the trees that have lost their leaves. And as Krishna plays and the women gather, that Rasa Krida, Rasa Leela is a magical moment in Bhagavatam where you start praising nature and divinity which seem no demarcation. Here Swati Tirunal brings to us alive that particular portion where Krishna placed the flute below the shade of a beautiful tree to the ears that have only nectarine music coming all through.
जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम करमो है बांसुरी भजा जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम करमो है बांसुरी बजावे बांसुरी बजावे सखी कुंज भवन जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम करमो बांसुरी बजावे सखी कुंज भवन जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम करमो है बांसुरी मोरे पिंच गले माला मोरे पिंच गले माला मकराकृत कुंडल मोरे पिंच गले मकराकृत कुंडल मकुटारिक भूषण मकुटारिक भूषण शोभदेत तन में जमुना किनारे मकुटारिक भूषण शोभदेत तन में जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम करमो है बांसुरी बजावे पद्मनाभ दीन बंधो दीन बंधो Padmanabha प्रभु गोपीनाथ गिरधर प्रभु गोपीनाथ गिरधर राजो मेरे मन में जमुना किनारे प्रभु गोपीनाथ गिरधर राजो मेरे मन में जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम बांसुरी बजाए सखी कुंज भवन जमुना किनारे प्यारे कदम बांसुरी बजाए बांसुरी बजावे बांसुरी
அப்பதியின் அந்தணர்த்தம் குடிமுதல்வர் ஆசியில் மறைக்கைப்படுத்த சீலத்து கவுனியர் கோத்திரம் விளங்க செப்பும் நெறி வழிவந்தார் சிவபாத ஹிருதயர் என்று இப்புவி வாழத்தவம் செய்த இயல்பினார் உளர் ஆனார். In the coastal Tamil Nadu, there is a kshetram called Sirgali. The verse from Periyapuranam states that there was a devout. His name was Shivapada Hridaya, who came in the lineage, the Gotra of Kaundinya. Any Kaundinya Gotras? Talking about your Gotra. So, Kauniyar Kottiram Vilanga. So, roughly 1500 years back, this incident has been recorded. So, this Shivapada Hridaya and his wife had a lovely son. And the son, like any other child, wanted to accompany his father to the temple tank, Pushkarini. So this father, he took a plunge into the waters by reciting the Aghamarshana Sukta, says Periyapuranam. Neer aadi taruppittu நியமங்கள் பல செய்வார் ஷீராடும் திருமகனார் காண்பதன் முன் செய்து அதன் பின் ஆராத விருப்பினால் அகமருடம் படியே நீர் பேராது முழுகினார் பெருங்காவல் பெற்றாயே. This is Tamil. So, he took a plunge into the temple tank by reciting the Aghamarshana Sukta and went into the waters. The boy, like any other boy, was extremely petrified that he couldn't see his father for some time, and he started crying. But this cry of any child, uh, we generally see that happen in most of our flights. So if your Purva Janma Karma works and you'll have to lose some of it, you will have them next to you, before you, or after you. But this cry of the child was not with those staring with those eyes. Shh, nothing of that. This child's cry had a different reaction. It is said that Parvati, the Kshetra Nayaki, took extreme mercy on this child, and she came to give solace to the child. And just not giving solace through her rays and grace, she wanted to give him something more. She fed him with knowledge, and that was through milk. We are now asking A2 organic, grass fed milk from Costco with less tariff. So, now when we go for it, here it is neither A2 nor organic nor grass fed. Probably 20 years back we thought organic was only in chemistry. So until it tore out of the Mendeleev's periodic table and got into milk and grains. Now everything is organic. So going further, we will also have Harikatha, organic Harikatha. So this boy was being fed with milk. But the mother's grace was so high that she said that I have fed you, sing on your father. The boy sang his first verse because there were some remnants of the milk that he had consumed on his face. And the father, who had just taken a plunge, came out and looked up to his son and said, who gave you this? Because it was not generally very customary for eating anything outside one's house. Eating outside one's house was just not acceptable and was never there. So this concept of parannam existed. So the father asked, who gave you? What milk is it? 20 years, at least I remember, like 15 years back when I used to take a train from Bangalore to Chennai, my party would say, don't take biscuits given by anybody. Do you remember that? There'll be an instruction. If somebody gives you biscuit, don't take. Especially if they give you something jangri or something, you can take. Biscuit. So it was biscuit dissolvable drug. So here the father asked, who gave you this milk? And the boy could have just said, that lady, that man. He came up with a verse in chaste Tamil. He said, Todudaya seviyan vidayeriyor tuven madisudi kadudaya sudalai podi pusiyan nullangavar kalvan yedudaya malaran munainal panindetta arul seida beedudaya biramapuram meviya pemman ivanandre. What is it? The father asked. He could have said milk. Right? He said, oh, the one who has applied ashes over his golden-hued body with the hairs that have gone into a matted locks, with the nectarine rays giving crescent moon that is attached to the cool, serene waters of Ganga that come on one side, with his body that is partitioned to a woman who sits on the majestic bull and comes atop the sky, gave me this milk. So, why did this flowery poetry come into the boy? Because it was Nari Shakti that acted there. And reminder of this incident, Shankara tells in one of his verses, Tavastanyam manye dharani dharakanye hridayataha payapparavarav parivahati saraswatamiva dayavatya dattam dravida shishur aswadya tavayat kavinam praudanam ajani kamaniyaha kavaita. He says in Lahari. He says, oh mother, your love, your compassion was so visible when you blessed that Dravida Sishu. So Dravida is there by a Sanskrit word. Okay. So he said that you blessed the child that was born in the Dravida Desha with such knowledge. Why don't you bless with a few drops of milk on me as well? So this Nari Shakti, this Sri Shakti, the Sri Shakti has felt its completion by giving knowledge through milk. So milk which nourishes us came through the mother, and here we present that particular verse.
தோடுடைய செவியின் விடையேறியோர் தூவெண்மதி சூடி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசியன் உள்ளம் கவர் கள்வன் தோடுடைய செவியின் விடையேறியோர் தூவெண்மதி சூடி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசிய உள்ளங்கவர் கள்வன் தவஸ்தன்யம் மன்யே धरणिधर कन्ये हृदयतः पयः पारावारः परिवहति सारस्तवमिव पयः पारावारः परिवहति सारस्वतमिव दयावत्या दत्तं द्रविडशिशुरास्वाद्य तव यत् कवीनां प्रौढानामजनि कमनीयः कवयिता ஏடுடைய மலரால் உனை நாட்படிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மானிவனன்றே ஏடுடைய மலரால் உனை நாட்படிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் மேவிய பெம்மானிவனன்றே
Chapter 4, Principles of Management, first semester MBA, has a topic called the Maslow's hierarchy. It suggests in the pyramid, the first pyramid, the level is physiological needs. So we need water, we need good air to breathe. The water comes in the form of rains, it gets stored. We need good milk for nourishment. So this entire lecture has been structured in the form of Maslow's hierarchy for Nari Shakti. So if you have seen from the start, from the commencement, Upodghatam, we said water, which is mother. Water in the form of Amritavarshini. Water in the form of Ganga. Water in the form of Kaveri. Water in the form of Godavari. Water in the form of Yamuna. Water as Triveni. Then we proceeded to milk. Samasta Jananeem Bande Chaitanya Stanyadayineem Shreyaseem Srinivasasya Karunam Ivarupineem, says Vedanta Deshika, the great Acharya of the 13th century, in Daya Shatakam, where he says, Mother, you give me that knowledge which will blossom my attributive knowledge called as Dharma Bhuta Jnanam. When water is there, milk is there, food is there to eat, we need clothes to wear. So, where clothes given by mother, there is one incident. Krishna, in his younger days, didn't go to school. Later he went. So, somebody with a very, very great bent of mind will just cut this 10 seconds, whatever I've spoken. See, Krishna did not go to school. Dushyanth Sridhar. So he went to school later, but that was a crash course because he didn't spend his kindergarten and elementary school and all of that. He didn't join the magnet program or anything of that sort. So later he had to do it as a crash course. 64 days. Gatva Sandeepanim Athi Chatushashti Ratri Mahobihi Sarvajnastvam Sahamusalina Sarvavidya Grihitva Putram Nashtam Yamanilayanad Akhritam Dakshinartam Datva Tasmai Nirapuramagat Nadayan Panchajanyam, says Bhattatri Narayaniyam. So he went to the ashramam of Sandeepani Maharshi. It is said that he had a great friend called Sudama. We don't have an exact reference to that, but we believe that this must have been the person, Sudama. Later, when Krishna went back to Mathura, and from Mathura he shifted his capital to an island that was bought off the coast of Gujarat called Dwaraka, and entirely got his population, all the people who lived in Mathura, transported in one night, just not moving them but changing their sari positions from Uttar Pradesh to Gujarat. So it was too much of a work. So they went that night. And that is when, along the coast of Gujarat, is a current city called Porbandar. And Porbandar is famous, if you go today, for a temple for Sudhama. It is believed that Sudhama lived there. But when we deal with Sudhama there, Bhattatri, of course, Shukabrahmam and Bhagavatam do not talk about him as Sudhama. They say he was a person who was dressed so badly that he couldn't afford a single piece of one strand cloth. He didn't have one garment because anything that was stitched and oblique, and if you bring organza and paithani together, it's designer now. But then if you bring two things together, it was a sign of poverty, destitution there those days. So chela shabdeti, chela means vastram. One who is very inferiorly dressed is called kuchela. So he was so poorly dressed that there were many crevices in his cloth, and he had to mark it up with various other, some Kalankari, some Paithani, some Muga, some KSIC, some Venkatagiri, some Mangalagiri, some Dharmavaram, some Darasuram, some Tribhuvanam. We'll have another lecture. So I'm sure the Nari Shakti will appreciate. I'll tell you the history. Now, his wife, she pointed to the poverty, the existing destitution that they were drenched in. And the one thing that he did uninterruptedly was to have 27 children. Maximum production. So the wife said, you have 27 children. We are poorly dressed. Daridhyata is within us. Your friend is Mr. World Bank. She says, Sakshat Shriyapatihi, your friend is the man. And he's a few kilometers away and we are in destitution. Shouldn't we connect the dots and go ask him for something? Kuchela said, see, I have never known how to ask. She said, you've produced 27. You knew that. Go ask. So he said, what will I take for my friend? That is when she borrowed some poha. And she tied it to his angavastram and said, go ask. He walked along the coast and then traveled through the waters and reached, and the bouncers, they said, we are not going to let you in. You don't seem like Krishna's friend at all. He said, I may look different now. I was better then. So finally, there was some confirmation. There was a, for most of our passwords, we have the security question. We have the security question. What's your first pet's name? If I have had none, I give my spouse's name. So, somewhere I have to fill in something, fill in the blanks. ये थोड़ी तो negative marking है इसमें. So, they went and informed Krishna, here is your friend. And Krishna came through all the 18 gold aurum gilded stairs of his Sabha Mantapam, brought Sudhama in, and he was extremely hospitable, Atitheya Satkaram. And this man did not ask even then because he was quite embarrassed to ask anything, but he offered the poha. That is when, after having a lavish lunch, so there was a huge spread thrown to Sudhama, Kuchela by Krishna. There was dhokla, there was fafda, there was khandvi, there was thepla, there was chunda, there was undiyo, there was so everything with a little tinge of jaggery in it. Everything was there. Kadi, kadichachi. So everything was there. And he had a lavish lunch. He rested well and he had to go back. Krishna said, something you must have got. He said with that little embarrassment, with a coyness in his eyes, he said, I've got some poha for you. Krishna said, that's fine, but why are you sweating? Rukmini, come and fan him, because Shastram says, of course, we pay to sweat today. We go to a room, we sit there, we pay bucks to sweat. But there is a vakyam in Veda which says that if you sweat, it is a sign of poverty. So Krishna wanted to remove poverty, and who better than a Nari Shakti, Rukmini there? So he said, come and fan him. So she started fanning, and Krishna accepted one handful of poha. And he was munching it. Sudhama felt so embarrassed. He said, see, such lavish food in front of me and you're munching this poha. He says, I'm on a diet. If not keto, something. So he was punching. And as the first full was over, Rukmini was seeing him take another handful and she held. bas karo. Itna. So, ஹிந்தியில் பேசினார்களா அவர்கள்? அது அது ஏன் வடக்கில் அப்படி பேச வேண்டும்? நாங்கள் ஹிந்தி பேசுவதில்லையே, ஏனெனில் அவருக்கு ராஜ்யசபா தேவையில்லை. So, this second handful had to be consumed. She held him. That's all. So, he was stopped from consuming the second handful. Sudama went with some nice clothes. He went into the same street where his house supposedly was, and there was some mansion there. There was a lady with some of the best clothes on her. And he went and asked, Namaste, it's so nice to see you. Did you see my wife? She said, I'm your wife. What has happened? When did this happen? She said, exactly at 12:45 this afternoon, while I was making some chutney on the rolling stone, the ammi, which is a larger rectangle at the top, a smaller rectangle at the bottom, tapers towards the end with a variable called the rolling stone that is used to make togayal. So she said, while I was making this, I suddenly saw it turn into ninja. And the normal cooker turned into Insta. So that is when he remembered that it was the same time Krishna consumed, and all this happened because of that Nari called Rukmini that he got the best of clothes. So Maslow's hierarchy of water, milk, food, and now clothes is again through a Nari. Now, interestingly, there is a beautiful compendium of compositions by Swati Tirunal. There were a set of kings who ruled Thiruvananthapuram region, and they were interestingly called after the nakshatram in which they were born. So if they were born in Uttiram, they will be called Uttiram Tirunal, or Uttiradam Tirunal, Swati Tirunal, Chittirai Tirunal. So Swati Tirunal has given a work called Kuchelopakhyanam. In that, there is a beautiful composition where the wife insists, go ask your friend. So she says, Bhajasi Nakim Bata Kamalesham. Why don't you ask that Kamalesha, that husband, to the one who is the one sitting on Kamala, that is lotus. So this is a beautiful composition of Swati Tirunal that we all need to immerse ourselves in.
भजसि न किं बत कमलेशं 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 अजभववासं मकुट अजभववासव मकुट विराजित अजभववासव मकुट विराजित अजभववासव मकुट विराजित अजभववासव मकुट विराजित मणिकिरणाजित पददेशं मणिकिरणाजित पददेशं भजसि न किं बत कमलेशं भजसि न किं बत कमलेशं कलयसि मोहिं मूर्तिशिथिलं धनरहितं दयितनिवेशं कलयसि मोहिं मूर्तिशिथिलं धनरहितं दयितनिवेशं प्रियसखमाश्रय सरसिजना प्रियसखमाश्रय सरसिजनाभं प्रियसखमाश्रय सरसिजनाभं प्रियसखमालय सरसिजनाभं दास्यति समुदाभवदेशम् दास्यति समुदाभवदेशम् भजसि न किं बद कमलेशम् भजसि न किं बद कमलेशम्
Rice with some mung dal in good proportion. You steam and mash them together. Add some mixture of coarse pepper and jeera to it, and maybe 2 spoons of ghee. That, when consumed at about 7 a.m. in the morning, is a recipe for good sleep. And that's called pongal. So I'm sure, as much as we work for good air, water, clothes, we also work for sleep. Devi Bhagavatam says Nari Shakti is called as Nidra Devi. The mention is not Nidra. Nidra is a Devi. Who realized this? See, when in the Uttarakandam of Ramayana, it mentions through Agastya Vakyam the ancestry of Ravana. It talks about Mali, Sumali, and so on, and how the 3 brothers had austerities to Brahma. And the Devas sensed that something could go wrong if Kumbhakarna, who was already a giant physically, would end up asking boons that would make him all the more powerful. So Ramayanam clearly says that they went to Saraswati. Chintita chopatasthesya Parshvadevi Saraswati Pranjalihi Satu Parshvastha Prahavakyam Saraswati Yamasmya Gata Deva Kim Karyam Karavanyaham Prajapatistu Tam Praptam Prahavakyam Saraswatim. Saraswati said, don't worry, I will do something to his tongue. He had to ask Nirdeva. Deva, anybody divine, should not be able to take on me. So a little twist there. She added, and Nirdeva became Nidra Eva. He said, I want only sleep. And Nidra Devi blessed him immensely, and that is how we have all nice comical accounts that say how elephants and horses and all the king's men couldn't wake up Kumbhakarna ever again. Let's finish the rhyme. So, he had to be woken up. So, sleep is an essential component. In Shastram, there are various occasions where sleep has been addressed. Nidra Devi has been addressed. One, in traditional lectures, which is called Kalakshepam, it is believed, when we used to learn Vedanta from our teachers, it never used to happen in stipulated times. Oh, it begins at 6:30, there's traffic, so we'll start at 6:50, then it will get to, nothing of that sort. So the teacher keeps talking and I keep listening. So we wouldn't know when he will stop, he wouldn't know when he should stop. So one of the rules in Shastram is, as the teacher teaches, dispenses knowledge, if the student yawns, you have to stop. That is the rule. We knew that. So when we yawn is in our hands. So why? Because again there is a caveat there which says that if you yawn, whatever you have listened till then will dissipate, will go away. Yawning? கேட்டதெல்லாம் மறந்து போயிடும். மென கேட்டு 1.5 மணி நேரம் உட்காந்து கிம் பத கமலேஷம்லாம் கேட்டு எல்லாம் கமலே. Like naphthalene and ball, it will go away. Now, so Nidra Devi is extremely important. Sleep. There is an anecdote which is mentioned in Tirupavai. Andal goes house after house waking up girls of her age so that they can all go together, sing praises of Krishna, bathe, and then go to the temple. She doesn't ekaki na ramate. Just alone, anubhavyam is not great. You should have people in the audience, and so that, imagine there was only one person there. He can't even scratch his nose. I'll keep looking at him. So, loads of people here. So my 2 existent body eyes goes left and right. So you can do whatever you want. And that too, when the lights are dimmed on your side, don't worry at all. So, it is very important that we enjoy as a group. Koodiyirundu kulirvom, says Andal. So Andal goes and knocks at the door of one of the girls, and she's reluctant to wake up. So Andal says, if this is the sleep that you are engrossed in, oh lady, I wonder if it was given by Kumbhakarna. Because when Rama fought Kumbhakarna in Lanka, towards the end, when Kumbhakarna was completely cognizant that he will die in the hands of Rama, called Rama. Vilyendiya Rama. Vil Right. Why should I give all this rhyming attributes only to T. Rajendra? I can speak as well. Just that I don't have that fluffy hair. So, Vilyendiya Rama Vil Vil in Tamil means bow. Oh, the one who has got the will, write my will. Rama said, what is the property that you possess? Sleep. Sleep is the biggest asset, trust me. If you don't get it, you'll realize how important sleep is. Certain people are extremely vigilant. If somebody is sleeping and they are waking up at 4 a.m., they will do their level best to ensure the other person wakes up. They will open the door, they will put something down. How did they sleep, sir? How is she sleeping so well? The other person says, she went to the lecture yesterday. So, Kumbhakarna said, sleep is the biggest asset. Rama said, whom should I give this to? He said, 99% to the girl who will be born during the days of Andal, give it to her. That is why Andal says, Pandurunal Kuchattin Vaivizhunda Kumbhakarnanum Tochumunakke Perunthuyildan Tandano. Did that Kumbhakarna who lost in the hands of Rama in the battlefield of Lanka bestow that uninterrupted sleep on you, oh lady? She asked. But Rama was not done with the will. He said 99% is given, 8% to baki hai. Kisko dena hai batao to sahi. Give it to everybody who listens to religious lectures. So, trust me, even without the gasagasa payasam, it will. So, Nidra Devi is important. So, when we trust mother as water, as river, as milk, as clothes, she is also the one who gives us sleep. However bad the mother is at singing, no child can be put to sleep if the mother doesn't sing. So the mother stops singing only when she recognizes the child has got some musical knowledge from now. I should not play anymore. And she'll stop singing. But during the days of Swati Tirunal was a very learned minister called Iriyaman Thambi, who said, we need to write a beautiful lori, lullaby, talat for this child. And was born a beautiful concept of putting the child to sleep like how Nari Shakti puts her child. That Sahityam in Malayalam is very famous, called Omanathingal Kidavu.
ஈஸ்வரன் தன்ன நிதே பரமேஸ்வரி ஏந்தும் பரமேஸ்வரி ஏந்தும் பரமேஸ்வரி ஏந்தும்
One fine aspect of Nari Shakti's Vatsalya, motherhood. Bhagavat-pada says, Astam tavadiyam prasoti samaye durvara shulavvyata nairuchyam tanusoshanam alamayi shayyacha samvatsari ekasyapina garbhabhara viditaha. Oh mother, what can I give you in return? When I was there inside you in that amniotic sac, you would have sensed the pain of a trident that is being pierced from the within. Yet you took all of that pain with that little smile because you wanted to see me. And when I was born, all I did was to excrete next to you, Malamayim. For Shayyacha Samvatsari, for 1 year I did that. Anybody else will close their nose. Mother, you kept your nostrils open because you did not see that as an obnoxious smell coming from me. All I have is to only offer a pound of rice when you are dead, says Bhagavat-pada in that beautiful ode called Matrika Panchakam. So Nari Shakti positions itself as Matri Shakti or Vatsalya Bhavam. Now, there's an essential component to water, the air, the food, the milk, the clothes that we wear, and of course the sleep that we get, good health. When Rama fought Karadushana and Trishiras in Janasthana in Aranyakandam, towards the end of it, single-handedly he was able to vanquish 13,999 Rakshasas. Tam drishtva shatruhantaram. The rishis were wondering, how could a man who adheres to rules take on these demons who never adhere to rules? Ekascharamo dharmatma katham yuddham bhavishyati, says Valmiki, and looking at him, bruised and smeared in blood, and having vanquished all the demons, Sita runs towards him. Tam drishtva shatruhantaram maharshinam sukhavaham babhuva hrishta vaidehi bhartaram parishasvaje. Valmiki says, she looked at her husband, bruised in blood, went towards him and hugged him very well. Bhartaram parishasvaje. 40 pages of commentary for this one shloka of Valmiki Ramayana. Commentators have given why. One of the reasons is Sita was believed to be Mahalakshmi, who is the compendium and repository of all Ayurvedic herbs. So when she embraces him, the stains will remain, but the pain will go away. So she embraced him. So Nari Shakti is viewed as the one that protects the cities and villages as well. That is why in Krishna Avataram, when Krishna was the 8th child, 6 children were lost because Kamsa killed them. The 7th was declared a miscarriage. The 8th one was to be born. Yogamaya said, shift this, swap this child with a girl child that will be born. Pravit Kale Nishande, when Ashtami Tithi ends, Navami Tithi begins. To Yashoda, bring that child here. So he brought. Now this girl who was brought protected Krishna. Though she was younger to him, she protected him. She was the fortress. Fortress is Durga. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರನೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋ ಆ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಚಿತ್ರದುರ್ಗ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರು. ಚಿತ್ರದುರ್ಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಣ್ಗಳು ನೋಡಕ್ಕೆ ಇರೋ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯವಾಗಿರೋ ಒಂದು ದುರ್ಗ, ಫೋರ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್. ದುರ್ಗಾ அப்படின்னு சொன்னா எவளால் யார ஜெயிக்கவே முடியாதோ துர்கா. So Durga is the one that protects. Durga is the one who's invincible. So the invincible fortress was Yogamaya, who protected her brother. So that is why the concept of Sarasija Nabha Sodari, Padma Nabha Sodari, Ambuja Ramana Sodari. So the Sodari concept, Ninnu Juda Vachu Bhagini Karambu Chiluka, says Tyagaraja. So this concept of sisterhood stems from there. So this Devata, Krishna said, you will protect the villages. That is why in most villages, the Devi protects as Yellai Devam, Yellamma. They say in northern Karnataka, Yellai Amman, Bhagavadi Ana Kerala Kshetratil. So you will have everywhere that Yellai Amman concept. That is why when even Sita had to be abandoned, she had to be abandoned by Lakshmana, who's Adi Seshamsha, because Sita and Valmiki were born from the anthill, and within the anthill says the snake. So this anthill looks brown color, like gold. So the snake stays within her. So there is a concept of worshipping her as a snake within the anthill. So Shyama Shastri says, Kanaka Shaila Viharini. So Kanaka Shaila, one means the golden mountain of Kailasha, because Kailasha is believed to be the place in the larger Himalayan region where gold is born and grows 3 layers beneath. So it's called Hatakam. Hataka means gold. Hema, Kanaka, Hataka. Now there was a concept where people used to cheat the other person, showing brass as Hataka. Pittala as Hataka becomes Pittalatam. We use that word, right? Pittala is shown as Hataka, which is gold. So here the Kailasha Parvata is gold. Here even the anthill is gold. So it is Kanaka Shaila Viharini.
Kanaka Shaila Viharini Amba Kamakoti Vane Sushile Kamakoti
Rama was ordained to go to the forest for 14 years, Navapanchacha Varshani. He first goes and informs his mother Kaushalya, who was there at that point in time in the place where their Aradhya Daivam Jagannatha was being worshipped. She expressed her sorrow. There was melancholy in her voice. He left that place and then went towards Sita's inner apartment, Antavpuram. He said, Sita, we've been married for some time. Life does take some unexpected turns. I've been asked to go to the forest for 14 years. The world is small. Let's keep meeting again. I will miss you loads. Stay in touch. Sita said, where are you leaving me with your mothers? So Rama said, see, you're not used to the forest. There will be a lot of thorns. She says, Yaditvam prasthita durgam vanamadhyeva raghava agrataste gamishyami mridganti kushakantakan. If you're worried about the thorns, Rama, I shall walk ahead of you, remove those thorns, make the path thorn free so that you can walk. Take me. So, the way Sita brings that emotional security that I am there is extremely important as Maslow's hierarchy, the second level of security, emotional security, where she said, I am there. If there is something that's been ordained for you, I should partake it. I will also come with you. Who got inspired of this? That she said, I will remove the thorns and make it a walkable path. I'm sure Robert Frost. He said, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long I stood, the road not taken. So as they walked into the forest, Sita said, Agrataste gamishyami, I shall walk in front of you. Remember, this line becomes an inspiration for one of the paddhatis of Vedanta Deshika and Paduka Sahasram. Agrataste gamishyami, mridganti kushakantakan. So Sita says, I will walk in front of you. That is emotional security. Now, what if, let's come to a scenario. What if Sita had not gone? She said, okay, either he, now Tulsi has also come back. Right, second season. Saas bhi kabhi bahu thi, aa gayi wapas. Right. There's no signal there, main idhar hi rehti hu. I'll stay here. What would have happened? Rama would have also gone for 14 years. Nobody would have been abducted. Just imagine the scenario. Rama and army pode mudidum. Rama காட்டுக்கு போனார், வீட்டு போனார், எல்லாம் சௌக்கியமா இருந்தார், சாப்பிட்டுட்டு வந்துட்டார் திரும்பி ஆத்துக்கு. Ramayana Navaham will become 2 days. That's all. So Tyagaraja goes on to say, hey Mate, it is because of you that Rama has got that prashamsa bhavam with him. He has got that fame with him. If you had not gone, if you were not abducted, Alvar says, Tanichirayil vilapputra kili moriyal. In one line, he has given challenges, one, to understand the line, and second, to the people who can't get Ra. Tanichirayil vilappu utra kili moriyal. Pochu. Right. So, she is the one who bestowed grace. So he says, Ma Janaki Cheta Pattaga. He says in this particular side.
Raja 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 Raja
Along with emotional security comes financial security. This is a very famous incident that comes in Bhagavad Pada's life, which most Shankara Vijayams kind of endorse. When Bhagavad Pada was 5 years of age, he went on a bhiksha. Now there is a big question here. What age will we put Janeyu? 9, 7. நம்ம மாத்துல போட்டதெல்லாம் சொல்லப்படாது. நம்ம மாத்துல கல்யாணத்துக்கு முந்தின நாள் போட்டுருவாங்க. பூனல் கல்யாணம். Right? So which 8 or 9? நீங்க என்ன சொல்றீங்க? உங்க சாய்ஸ். technical age, what age do you put? 7. But what does Shastra Vakyam say? 8. Then you are saying 7. See, that 1 year is Pitragarbheti Matragarbham. So in the father as the sperm, which is 60 days to 90 days, then it goes and fertilizes 9 months, 40 weeks. Kamala Selvaraj says. So 3 plus 9 is 12. Correct? That is 1 year. 7 years after you are born. So 1 plus 7. But I said 5 years for Bhagavad Pada. Why? Because there is a rule. General rule is 1 plus 7, which is 8. So 7th year from birth. But if your pronunciation of Akshara Rashi Grahanam is good, then Apastamba says 5 is the age to be put. So if pronunciation is good, 5. But there is a corollary to it. What if the pronunciation is not good after 7? Then also you have to put. Pronunciation so it will come one day, right? Now, Bhagavad Pada was reciting Katakam because on Dwadashi Tithi you recite Katakam, Achidram, and then Katakam comes. So he went on a bhiksha. He went outside the house of a certain lady. That lady was supposedly good. So she went outside that house. He went outside and said, Bhavati bhikshaan dehi mate. That lady did not have anything to offer. She looked, nothing was available. She had some gooseberries because on Dwadashi Tithi, you have to consume Agastya Shakha, which is Agatti Kire. You get in Lulu? Then gooseberry. But that gooseberry was rotten on one side. But yet she thought, let us give him something. With that coyness, oh, I'm giving something not so useful. Like when you give something which is not useful to the other person, how do we gift for marriages? What is there in our house, we will give. Incidentally, it should not be what they have given us. So, this gooseberry was given. She had a lot of coins. She said, kya hai? But then she offered. Now, Bhagavad Pada understood. Now, this is where Shankara Vijayam talks about a conversation. He immediately invoked Mahalakshmi. Lakshmi ji aaye. Lakshmi ji came. Bhagavad Pada said, give her some money. She needs some money. Lakshmi said, see, when I look into her past records, it suggests that she has got a lot of Sanchita Karma, Shankar. I just can't help. You know, if you win a Booker Prize in anything, your voice has to become like this. So she said, I just can't do this. So that is when Bhagavad Pada said, why did you come when I called? Then Mahalakshmi said, because your Purva Janma Sukrit is of Punyam. That is why I... Now look at me and bless her. Don't look at her and not bless her. Look at me and bless her. That is when he says, Dadyat Dayanu Pavano Dravinambudharam Asmin Akinchana Vihanga Shishau Vishanne. He gives one cryptic line. Like the little bird that is helpless without the mother. Has he seen National Geographic Channel? How does he know the little one is helpless? Because there is, we say Shruti, Smriti, Purananam, right? In the Mahabharata, in Khandava Vanadahanam, there is a place where Krishna and Arjuna go around Khandava Vanam. They burn the forest because they have to build a smart city. Now, for that, they have to burn the forest. For burning the forest, they go. In that, there is one couple of Sharangika Pakshi. So, the Sharangika Pakshi has one past. Appoludhu, andru. You have to go to the past. What is the past? The past is, this was a rishi called Mandapala Maharshi. Mandapala Maharshi left to his Pitrulokam and Pitru said, you should have children and then come here. He said, sir, if I go back, then marrying, there will be some conditions from my side, some conditions from their side. By the time it matches, it gets very close to Satyabda Purti. So, then where will I get married and produce children? So he said, with my Shakti, I will become a bird because that is, pair is making is easier. So there he made a pair and then they produced 4 children. These 4 children had the same thought process as their father of Vedic knowledge. Now, when the father and mother had left the Shargika birds had left this place, the 4 birds were caught in the fire. This is Kandava Vana Dahanam. If you read in Adi Parva itself, you'll get it. That is when this Mandapala Maharshi prayed to Agni with Swaha. Swaha is the Patni of Agni. That is why in Lakshmi Ashtotram, one of the names of Lakshmi is Swaha. So when he invoked Swaha, that Swaha did not Swaha these 4 children. So even in the absence of the parents, Mahalakshmi, you seem to protect. Why can't you protect her? That is the statement of Asmin Akinchana Vihanga Shishau Vishanne. So this is one incident. Second, it comes in Kanchipuram incident, where Acharya Vaibhavam mentions, where in the 13th century, Swami Vedanta Deshika was seated opposite the Sannidhi of Mahalakshmi. And as he was seated, there was one Brahmana who said that my marriage has been fixed, but I have to bear some expenses. Kanya Shulkam, I have no money. Kya kare? That is when he prayed to Mahalakshmi. And it is said, like Kanakadhara, there was a Kanakadhara there. Artatrana Vratibir Amritasara Nilambuvahihi Ambojana Mushasi Mishatam Antarangaihi Apangaihi Yasyam Dishi Viharate Devi Drishtistvariya Tasyam Ahamahamikam Danvate Sampadogaha Yoga Rambatvarita Manaso Yushmadai Kanta Yuktam Dharmam Praptum Pratamamihaye Dharayante Dhanayam. All your stock prices will increase. You have listened to Sri Stuti. Now, there is another Acharya whom I mentioned today at about 6:57. His name is Mudduswami Dikshita. He had 2 wives. So, there was poverty, large family. How to maintain? That is when some of the kings, patrons came and offered, we will give you some money if you sing praises about us. Muthuswami Dikshita has done that. But he has done it in a very subtle way. Vaidyalinga Bhupala Palanam. In Chaturdasha Ragamalika, he has introduced one Zamindar called as Vaidyanatha Bhupala. That's an intelligent way to intersperse that in a Devastuti. But when he was asked to sing, I don't need money, that is when he invoked Mahalakshmi through Lalita and said, give me some money. And we have Hiranmayim Lakshmim.
Harivakshasthalayam haridim charanakisayam Karakamalayam Marakatamanivayalayam Harivakshasthalayam haridim charanakisayam Karakamalayam Marakatamanivayalayam Hiranmayim Lakshmi Sada Bhajami Hilamanashlayam Yajami Hiranmayim Lakshmi Sada Bhajami Sada
When the physiological needs and security needs are met, we need to remember what Avvaiyar said. Avvaiyar, the great Tamil poet, she asks, what is worse? Kodiyadu varumai. She says poverty. What is worse than that? இளமையில் வறுமை. When you go through a childhood where food becomes a problem, clothes that you wear becomes a problem, then there will be lot of stains left in the mind. But given that things are slowly improving in most countries, when families are rising economic status, so that first layer of Maslow's hierarchy is taken care. Second layer can prove counterproductive if parents do not nurture their children on their own. This is from Vyasapita, I have to say something, right? Two products that we know from Shastram. One is Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi was raised by her nanny. Her name was Manthara. Her mother did not raise. When Govindaraja mentions in the 104th Sarga of Ayodhya Kandam, he gives one Upodghatam and a description to it. So this Kaikeyi, who was raised by Manthara, could be easily brainwashed by her. That is why in one night, the decision made by the Raja of Ayodhya was overturned. One night. Who did that? That lady called Manthara. She was very successful. Kamban says, "Tondriya kooniyum tudikkum nenjinal, oondriya veguliyal, ulekkum ullattal, kaandriyarin ayarattal, kadikkum sollinal, moonru ulaginirkum or idukkan muttuval." What was her specialization? In one place she'll stay and keep fights for all houses. Moondru ulaginirkum. One. Second, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a mention of a king called Uttanapada. Uttanapada had 2 wives, that is minimum. So, Anke Pituhu Suruchi Putrakam Uttamam Tam. Bhattatri. Now, this Uttanapada had 2 wives, Suniti, Suruchi. Suruchi had a son called Uttama. Uttama means best. He was not Uttama. Kannayiram na kannu theriyadha theriyala. Kannayiram. So, this Uttama went and sat on the lap of his father. Normal incident. Father said, "Vada kanna, whatever you pamper, muddu, kanda baro, whatever language, endanu mone, whichever language." So the other boy, the older one, was called Dhruva. He was standing behind the pillar. He was looking at this child, his brother, being pampered, and he thought he should also be the recipient of such fatherly love. Went and sat on his father's other lap. That was empty. He went and sat. He thought his father will pamper. Even before the father could think of pampering, somebody held the boy by his neck. It was painful. You seem to think that you should be the recipient of your father's love, my dear boy. Then you are not born of me. How dare you even think of this? Her words were as if a trident that is put into a furnace is taken and inserted into the ear. Karnashulam. So the boy couldn't withstand this. So he said, "What should I do to receive this love?" That is when his mother was helpless. Vishnu Puranam says Saptarishi, Bhagavatam says Narada. Finally he received Dvadashaksharam. Then he went to the forest, prayed to Narayana, and finally Narayana came and held his cheek, and that fatherly love was transported in a second. Tyagaraja brings the entire episode in one Churnika. Sa Patrimatayau Suruchiche Karnashulamaina Mata. So the words were so piercing. That Sahityam should be sung.
Sapatrimatayo Suruchiche Karnashulamaina Mata Vinula Churukana Tadaka Shri Harini Dhyanirchi Sukham Bagalena Sapatrimatayo Suruchiche Karnashulamaina Mata ध्यानिल्चि सुखिं पगलेदायटु कनकन रुचिरा कनक वसन
So when there is security needs, financial needs, and all of that is met, friendship blossoms. That is where Nari Shakti comes up with a beautiful example of Draupadi and Krishna. Generally, when we look into a kavyam, the male protagonist and the female protagonist will be generally a dampati, Sita Rama. But Mahabharatham alone is very unique. The female protagonist is Draupadi. The male is undoubtedly Krishna. Yudhishthira and Arjun, action king. Arjun is action king, but still, it is Krishna. That is why in Udyoga Parva, the Vakyam of Sanjaya is Yatra Krishnauscha Krishnascha Satyabhamacha Bhamini. This line is invoked by Bhagavad Ramanuja in his Upodghatam when he writes Gita Bhashyam. Nyatva api. Using the word Nyatva api, he invokes this line because they enjoyed such a great friendship. But things did not go the way Draupadi desired. Why? What happened to Draupadi? Draupadi was born from Yajna. Yajna Kunda, she was born of the fire. So she didn't have to go through this elementary school, middle school, exam, nothing. This chromyl chloride test, nothing. She had to just come. But problems began the second day itself. So a Swayamvaram was arranged. That is when people tried, they couldn't succeed. Finally comes Arjuna in the Brahmana Vesham. He shoots at the fish and he wins. And finally father says, Shadi ho gaya, isko leke jao. So she went home. That is when Kunti, being the social media person, she said, share. Share karo. What share karo? That is when Draupadi said, kaise share kar sakte hain Kunti ji? Ye to nahi ho sakta hai. That is when Arjuna said, see, joke don't take it to heart. But Yudhishthira said, there is a Shastra Vakyam that if Mata says, it has to be executed. Draupadi said, how can I marry 5? That is when Krishna came and gives precedences in Shastra of Jatila, of Pramlochana, and finally she is married to 5. Now comes the next problem. While Draupadi did not laugh at all at Duryodhana, she didn't laugh. We have all been, Rupa Ganguly, she laughed. Nitish Bharadwaj will be standing in one side. Main kaal hu. Nothing of it happened in Mahabharata. This man had manipulated. That is where mothers, grandmothers have to be extremely cautious of your own children. Children are good, but at times if they get manipulative, you will have to hold them. You should not blindly believe. This is also jnana. If he knew what will irk his father, and he said that Drupada Nandini laughed. That's all. He said, Shakuni, what should we do? Shakuni was a legal advisor, illegal advisor. So he said, bring them to the Dyuta Sabha. They were brought to Dyuta Sabha. That day Krishna was in there because he had to leave to Dwaraka to protect Dwaraka. That is when Ekavastra Rajaswala, she was in her menstruation. She was in her periods. She was bleeding. She was pulled by her hair by Dushyasana into the court. And while she had to be reprimanded, that is when our great Karna, Ullathil Nalla Ullam, our Karna recommended, what if there is a piece of cloth over her? What if it is removed? That was Karna's recommendation. 44 episodes in Jio Hotstar on Karna. Talla waste. So he said, take away. Now Draupadi, 5 gym body husbands, whey protein. Ella waste. Ella video. Nyatam maya vasishtena puragitam mahatmana mahatyapti samprapte smartavyo bhagavan hari. For a second, she remembered Vasishtha Vakyam that when nobody comes to your help, think of Krishna. And who better than Krishna to think of Krishna? That moment she thought, it is said, Krishna had to send clothes to protect her. Now, where will he send clothes from? He has to, somewhere he has to, Patola from Gujarat, he has to send. Something he has to send. Tirumangayalvar says where he knit the sari. He says that the turmeric sutra, the Mangalya Sutra that the wives of the 100 Kauravas were sporting was redundant from then on. So Krishna took those threads from those Mangalya Sutra, wove a beautiful sari and sent. So he says, Pendirgal Kaluthilaippa. That came. Now, Surdas, he says, Hey Krishna, for that safety need, for that value to friendship, you came. And it was just not you, your Nama came. So he says, Deenan Dukha Harana Deva.
Deenan Dukha Harana Deva, Santan Hitakari. Deenan Deva, Santan Hitakari. Deenan Dukha Harana Deva, Santan Hitakari. Deenan Dukha Harana Deva, Santan Hitakari. Deenan Dukha Harana गज को जब ग्राह ग्रस्यो दुशासन चीर हरयो गज को जब ग्राह ग्रस्यो दुशासन चीर हरयो सभा बीच कृष्ण कृष्ण Krishna 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 Draupadi Mukari Sabhavich Krishna Krishna Draupadi Mukari Itne hari aaye gaye bas nan aaroodh gaye itne aaye gaye bas nan aaroodh gaye Surdas द्वार ठाड़ो Surdas द्वार ठाड़ो Surdas द्वार ठाड़ो आंगनो भिखारी दीनन दुख हरण देव संतन हितकारी दीनन दुख हरण देव संतन हितकारी दीनन दुख हरण देव संतन हितकारी दीनन दुख हरण देव
Sur Durgas says, like how Draupadi enjoyed a great friendship, Maitri Bhavam with you, Krishna, and you protected her. It is Mana Samrakshanam as well as Chetanojjeevanam. Tyagaraja Swami says, like how you protected Draupadi. So, in most houses, if they have 2-3 children, the second or third child, Anna kani panni. Why didn't you? You did for the sister, right? So, everybody will always benchmark Draupadi. When Tyagaraja Swami said, Rama, come and do Uddharanam to me, Rama waited for some time. He said, that day didn't you help Draupadi? Nari mani ki cheera lichinadi
Nari mani ki chirali chinadi nade
In Meera's Charitram, when Meera had to undergo a lot of turmoil in her personal life, and finally when she had to reach Krishna Kshetram, Srinatha Kshetram, it is said she also invoked Vatsalyat, Abhayapradana Samayat, Artarti Nirvapanat, Audaryat, Agasoshanat, Aganita Shreya Padaprapanat, Sevya Shripati Rekayeva Jagatam, Yete Cha Shatsakshinaha, Prahladascha, Vibhishanascha, Karirat, Panchali, Ahalya, Dhruva. Every time these 6 witnesses will come. So Meera also says, you protected Draupadi. So this safety need, Maitri Bhavam concept of Nari Shakti of Draupadi with Krishna was invoked by Meera as well.
द्रौपदी की लाज राखी तुम बढ़ायो चीरहरी तुम्हारो जनकी.
We were talking about Ganga. We were talking about those 2 tributaries that make the Kshetram of Varanasi. Here is Varanasi. And when we go to the coastal region, we have the 2 sisters from that region. Purandaradasa says, Sabhayalli Draupadi Karadari. In the Sabha Mantapam, when your friend Draupadi called out your name, Krishna, didn't you come?
Sabhayalli Draupadi Karadari Shri Krishna Vandante Krishna Vandante.
Mudduswami Dikshita too says Draupadi Manasam Rakshanam.
Draupadi Manasam Rakshana Vainika Kayaka Guru Guhanuta.
I've always noticed, I'm sure some of you can relate to it. As mothers will become, there are various pattam which is given to it. Helicopter moms, dinosaur moms, right? Very strict. Have you finished? I don't know whether you can ask with such tone today, but still, I was asked. Of course, they will ask me to repeat like 50 times, 100 times, imposition. I've written all of it. So mothers will be extremely strict, but when they become grandmothers, that Vatsalyam comes. Right? Have you seen the same mother when she transitions to the state of grandmother? She will be extremely forgiving. She'll say, don't trouble the child. The mother will say, you troubled me. But you were not that successful, so I have realized. So, it's better to be cool, right? So, through Maslow's hierarchy, when the physiological needs are met, the safety needs, the security needs, it transitions to self-esteem. That comes with forgiveness. 2 instances in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. 1, Ramayana. Sita, she's been abducted. Of course, Jatayu gives the hint of Vinda Muhurta. Suparshva says a few words towards the end of Kishkindha Kanda. Finally, she is housed in Sita Kutuva. And from Sita Kotuva, she is taken to Sita Eliya in Sri Lanka. She is housed there. Ravana, every night he will dress up and come. He will dress. All this is there in Sundarakandam. First, take the Angavastram. He has to check whether he is looking good. He will keep checking. And then he will present one new sari with some terracotta jewelry, oxidized jewelry every day to Sita and says, Ye le lo. Sita tried telling him every night, "Boy, I get better things in Benares. Brocade I get." Well, she tried convincing him. See, send me back. I'm not happy here. Bhej do wapas. But he was reluctant, egoistic person. So he did not say. Now, how will she demonstrate to him? So she took a blade of grass and placed it. Trinam antarata kritva. 40 reasons Periyavachan Pillai gives in the 13th century. Why she played the blade of grass. It seems her learned father Janaka said, if there is a person who comes to your doorstep, you have to offer a seat and you don't have one, put a blade of grass that is equivalent to a seat. If you keep a blade of grass, that is why in most of our samskaras, they will keep two darbha grass. Okandukungo, because seat size seri. So, trinam. Second is, if you do not like the person, you have to still entertain him in your house. Atithi devo bhava. You will have to draw a curtain in between. I don't wish to see you, yet eat and go. How will you draw the curtain? You keep a blade of grass that acts as a curtain. Trinam antarata kritva. When the father said, go ask your Hari. It seems like a recent statement. Go ask the deity. So, go ask your Hari where he is. Then Stambhe Ghattayato Hiranya Kashipo Karnau Sama Churna Channa Gurna Jagadanda Kunda Kuharo Ghorastava Bhudravaha. When the father asked, where is your Hari, the boy with such confidence said, he is there in this blade of grass and in the pillar. So from the pillar he emerged. Sita said he has to exemplify the other half of the sentence. He can come from the blade of grass, so she kept the blade of grass. The fourth reason given is, whatever jewelry and clothes you keep in front of me, I treat it like a blade of grass. Fifth is, you do not understand what I am saying. Probably my language is not that comprehensible to you. But if a person continues to not understand, then his knowledge is extremely low. That which can be extremely beneficial but consumes only the grass as a cow. So I have kept a blade of grass. Jnanena hinaha pashubhis samanaha. Consume the grass and then leave me. So Sita tried telling Ravana, I still do not want you to die. I want to forgive you. Send me now with 2 packets of Ceylon tea. भेज दो वापस सर, एक मिस्टेक हो गया सर, गीता जी को लाना चाहिए था, सीता जी को ला. Just send me again. So that is self-esteem. When you go to the 4th level in Maslow's hierarchy, forgiveness comes just like that. In the Mahabharata Yuddham, towards the end of the Yuddham, 100 sons of Gandhari were gone. That night, when Kritavarma, Ashwathama, and Kripa, they were the only ones remaining. Now, Ashwathama was made the commander-in-chief because he was waiting to become the next. Nobody made him. Finally, he said, Duryodhan, Abhi mujhe banao. He said, there is no army with you. For 3 people, I'll be the chief. So that night he went, he got idea from the owl and the crows and then wanted to attack the Pandavas while they were sleeping. He heard, there was a hearsay that the 5 of them were sleeping. He shot arrows at them. Next day he opened Times of Hastinapura. 5 Pandavas were not dead. The 5 sons born were dead. Immediately, Arjuna's generally, he will be a great product for Indian politics. Next day he will say something. நான் ஒன்று அவர்களை இழுத்து வருவேன், இல்லையெனில் தீ குளிப்பேன். Typical line. So he said, I will bring. Then he brought Ashwathama. He pulled him. And Krishna said, Draupadi, do anything you want with this man. Kill him, do whatever you want. I'll bring that guillotine of the French Revolution. Cut kar do. That is when Draupadi said, see, I have lost my 5 sons. I know what the grief of a mother who has lost children will be. I do not want another lady called Kripi to undergo the same pain. Leave him. So the 4th level in Nari Shakti through Maslow's hierarchy leads us to forgiveness. What if it takes a different turn? Mahishasura Mardini. 4 Puranas talk about this concept of a Rambha and Karambha. It is said that this Karambha lost his life. Rambha continued doing his tapas. Then finally he went into the forest. He got inspired of a buffalo. And there are certain incidents mentioned. Finally he becomes an Asura called Mahishasura. So this Mahishasura, while seeking boons from Brahma, typical, that 1960s, 70s movie, you have seen that. N.T. Ramarao will come. They will be singing in Kedaragola on the battlefield. They have to shoot arrows. Ravana will come. Oh, Ravana on the battlefield. Full Neraval, Ellam Puttu, Swaram, Ellam Potta. Ragamalika, Chaturdasha Ragamalika, na Padi Rama will be shoot. So, bas ho gaya. So full 63 songs in Lavakusha movie. Between the songs, there will be one movie. Oh, they won't talk, they will sing. If the boy has to ask, give me food. Musical family. So, here Mahishasura has to worship Brahma. Brahma, the typical Brahma will come, he will ask, what do you want? Typical Asura Gunam, first line, I should be immortal. Waste. Even then, Bangalore Metro will not open. Yellow line open madi, blue line open madi. Immortality also will not help you. So the one they will ask. Then Brahma said, he will give a typical answer. Well, I have not been bestowed with this boon. Ask for something different. So then he will use optimization technique of engineering. He'll say, I should not be killed by this, by that. So he left women. Nari Shakti he left. Brahma said, women ko have, they can't do anything. That is when to Katyayana Maharshi, because in Mahanarayana Upanishad, which is a bhagam of Taitriyam. In Taitriya Upanishad, you have the second shaka. In that Mahanarayana Upanishad, you have got certain set of mantras that lead you to Durga. We call that as Durga Suktam, but you have to be extremely careful. The first mantra is not towards Durga, it is towards Agni. Jata Vedase is towards Agni. Because Somam Marhati iti Somyaha says Shastram. So that then you lead to Katyayanaya. So Katyayana Gotrodbhavam. Through the Gotra of Katyayana, Katyayani was born. So finally, there was a battle between Mahishasura and this particular Devi, Durga. And she was able to vanquish. So the point is, Nari Shakti will be forgiving. But when she decides to punish, she can become Durga. So it is in our hands, whether we want her to remain Draupadi or Sita or Durga. So that Durga is being venerated by both Dikshita and the Acharya.
Mahishasuramardini Mahi Mahishasuramardini Mahi Madhyadeshavasini Mahishasuramardini Mahi Madhyadeshavasini Mahishasuramardini Mahadeva Manasolasini Mavani Mahadeva Manasolasini Mavani Guru Guhari Vedini Maharajanagapani Guru Guhari Vedini Maharajanagapani भाषिणी सुरुचिरनलिनी शुम्भनि शुम्भारि वन्दनि सुरुचिरनलिनी शुम्भनि शुम्भारि वन्दनि जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि मयि निजहं कृतिमात्रनिराकृत शूलविलोचन शूम्रशते समरविशोषित शोणितबीज समुद्भव शोणितबीजशते शिव शिव शुम्भनि शुम्भ महाभगदर्पितभूतपिशाचपते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते इह परभोगमोक्षप्रदायिनि इह परभोगमोक्षप्रदायिनि इतिहासपुराणादि विश्वासिनि गौरहासिनि इह परभोगमोक्षप्रदायिनि इतिहासपुराणादि विश्वासिनि गौरहासिनि महिषासुरमर्दिनि मध्यदेशवासिनि महिषासुरमर्दिनि
As self-esteem matures, it leads you to the final stage in the hierarchy, which is called as self-actualization, says Maslow. Such forgiveness matures and becomes a stage where you start internalizing and understanding the presence of the Jivatma in the Pancha Bhautika Sharira. That is when Bhagavad Ramanuja, at that stage, he leads it by 3 levels. Parabhakti, Parajnana, Paramabhakti. He takes us through 3 levels. Then he does Sharanagati. Sharanagati is one of the Vidyas called Nyasa Vidya. He says, Bhagavan Narayana, Abhimatanurupa, Swarupa, Rupa, Guna, Vibhava, Aishwarya Sheela, Dhyanavadhikatishe, Asankheya Kalyana Gunaganam, Padmavanalayam, Bhagavatim, Shriyam, Devim, Anapnityanapayim, Niravadyam, Devadeva, Divyamahishim, Akhila Jaganmataram, Asman Mataram, Asharanya Sharanyam, Ananya Sharanaha, Sharanam Aham Prapadye, I surrender. For that, knowledge has to be there. For that, she stays as Vak Shakti. When Vedanta Deshika says, he says, Hayagriva must sit at the tip of my tongue. Jihwagra Simhasanam Abhyupeyaha, he says. He should be seated, tip of the tongue. We should pray. We should keep praying. Hayagriva, sit to the tip of my tongue. People who sing, people who speak, wherever, even in your corporate presentations, at that moment we should get that word. Most of the times it will be after the presentation we get. Some people say, it has come to here. It has to come. That word has to come. Jihwagra. So that Devi has to say, that is why Prakritim, Vikritim, Vidyam. Vidya comes third itself. So that Devi is present as Sharada. Now when you go through the Navaratri period, it is such a beautiful period. Every day is one color. You follow that? Satish gave us one color also. He said, red you have to wear. They immediately said, we have got 50 in red. Then I prayed to Draupadi. She sent the rest to me. So, Sharada is the one who bestows that knowledge. The Sannidhanam of Sringeri, they worship Sharada. So that Devi bestows that Vak Shakti. That Vak Shakti is very important. We get sleep, good air to breathe, good water to drink, all that happened. You remember between 6:50 and 7:40. Water, milk, A2, organic. You remember? Nyabharka? So then we went till Draupadi, Sita. Now she has to come as Sharada. Acharya says, Sharade Karunanidhe.
शारदे करुणानिधे सकलानवाम सराजनान् शारदे करुणानिधे सकलानवाम सराजनान् चारणानिम गीतवैभव पूरिताखिलदिक्कते शारदे करुणानिधे सकलानवाम सराजनान् चारणानिम गीतवैभव पूरिताखिलदिक्कते शारदे करुणानिधे सकलानवाम सराजनान् धर्मभूषण भूषिते वररत्नमौळि विराजिते धर्मभूषण भूषिते वररत्नमौळि विराजिते शर्मदायिनि कर्ममोचनि निर्मलं कुरु मानसम् शर्मदायिनि कर्ममोचनि निर्मलं कुरु मानसम् शारदे करुणानिधे सकलानवाम सराजनान्
From that Nari Shakti, that Stree Shakti, that Shri Shakti who stays in water, in the air, in the milk, in the food, in the clothes, in the sleep, in the good health, to the security needs, to the financial needs, to the safety needs, as a sister, as a friend, as a mother, as the one who is like the Draupadi and Sita who are forgiving, to Sharada who bestows knowledge, and to Sharanagati which is done to Jagannmata, Sri Mahalakshmi, Nari Shakti stays throughout. But often, which is not a traditional stage of an Upanyasam or a Harikatha or a Katha-nrityam, there will be some conclaves and conferences where we participate, some TV debates. There are issues every minute in Bharatadesham, so we have to participate in TV debates. And with Arnab, at times, if he lets me speak. So if I have that sukrit where I can allow to speak. There are lots of places where we see that women also, despite the greatness that is attached to what Shastram says, there are various levels at which women face challenges. We cannot just close our eyes and say everything is fine. So where do such women who face challenges either from their own family, from their friends, so-called relatives, society, or within themselves, whatever turmoil they undergo, where do we seek solace? This is where I come from the Shastram's perspective. There will be different solutions. You'll have 3 days motivational lectures, 999 only. Register. All that is fine. I have nothing against them. I'm too small to talk about anybody. But coming from a very traditional background of learning from Sadacharyas, we should learn how to find solutions by understanding our Shastras in the right way. that itself will give you a solution. When you listen and read the Ramayana and Mahabharata, that itself will have a solution to most of our problems. The moment we feel that all that is redundant, it is written in some yuga and is not relevant to us, we will come up with a new solution, 2026, some new Sigma solution, then it is not going to help us. So, this is a tribute. The Harikatha that we present is a tribute to the entire Nari Shakti, to the Stri Shakti that is celebrated every day in the mantras that we recite. Sahi Shrir Amrita Satam, says Vedam. Because Vedam itself is called Shri. There is one Paddhati. Shri means Vedam. So Vedas are themselves called in a certain way. So to that Nari Shakti we pay tribute at the same time. I cannot not speak about one person who revered women to such great heights. He has inspired the freedom movement, and he lived in a beautiful hamlet of the larger Chennai region. மீனவர் பொய்கை நான்மலர் கொய்வான் வேட்கையினோடு சென்னு அழிந்து கானமர் வேழம் கையெடுத்து அலர கரா அதன் காலினை கதுவ ஆனையின் துயரம் தீர புல் ஊர்ந்து சென்று நின்று ஆழி தொட்டானை தேன் அமர் சோலை மாடமா மயிலை திருவல்லிக்கேணி கண்டேனே. What a kshetram Tiruvallikeni Triplicanus of Parthasarathi. That Parthasarathi who fought for his great friend called Draupadi. Here at the very Charana Kamalam of this Parthasarathi was a great poet called Subramanya Bharati. Subramanya Bharati is whom we all revere as Bharatiyar. To him, the woman was not some older, married, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother woman. It was always a little girl dressed in a pattu pavadai. And he called her Kannamma. He says in one place, "Oh Mata, Bharata Mata, I see you as Kannamma. If those waters of tears come down your cheeks, it feels as if blood is oozing from my heart. I can never see you cry." So Bharatiyar's love for that Kannamma is our concluding piece called Chinnanjiru Kiliye.
சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே, சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே, சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே, என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில், என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில், என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில் ஏற்றம் புரிய மன்னா, சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே, பிள்ளை கனி அமுதே, பிள்ளை கனி அமுதே, பிள்ளை கனி அமுதே, கண்ணம்மா பேசும் பொற்சித்திரமே, பிள்ளை கனி அமுதே, கண்ணம்மா பேசும் பொற்சித்திரமே, அள்ளி அணைத்திடவே என் முன்னே ஆடி வரும் தேனே, அள்ளி அணைத்திடவே என் முன்னே ஆடி வரும் தேனே, சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே. ஓடி வருகையில் உள்ளம் குளிருதடி ஓடி வருகையில் கண்ணம்மா உள்ளம் குளிருதடி ஓடி வருகையில் கண்ணம்மா உள்ளம் குளிருதடி ஆடி திரிதல் கண்டால் உன்னை போய் ஆவி தழுவுதடி ஆடி திரிதல் கண்டால் உன்னை போய் ஆவி தழுவுதடி உச்சி தன்னை மகந்தார் கருவம் ஓடி வளருதடி உச்சி தன்னை முகந்தார் கருவம் ஓடி வளருதடி மெச்சி உன்னை ஊரார் புகழ்ந்தார் மேயி சிலிர்க்குதடி மெச்சி உன்னை ஊரார் புகழ்ந்தார் மேயி சிலிர்க்குதடி கன்னத்தில் முத்தமிட்டார் கன்னத்தில் முத்தமிட்டார் கன்னத்தில் முத்தமிட்டார் உள்ளம் கல்வெறி கொள்ளுதடி கன்னத்தில் முத்தமிட்டார் உள்ளம் கல்வெறி கொள்ளுதடி கன்னத்தில் முத்தமிட்டார் உள்ளம் கல்வெறி கொள்ளுதடி உன்னை தழுவிடேனோ கண்ணம்மா உன்மதமாகுதடி உன்னை தழுவிடேனோ கண்ணம்மா உன்மதமாகுதடி உன்னை தழுவிடேனோ கண்ணம்மா உன்மதமாகுதடி உன் கண்ணில் நீர் வழிந்தார் கண்ணம்மா கண்ணில் நீர் வழிந்தால் என் நெஞ்சில் உதிரம் கொட்டுதடி உன் கண்ணில் நீர் வழிந்தால் என் நெஞ்சில் உதிரம் கொட்டுதடி என் கண்ணில் பாவையன்றோ கண்ணம்மா கண்ணம் என் கண்ணில் பாவையன்றோ கண்ணம்மா என் கண்ணில் பாவையன்றோ கண்ணம்மா என் கண்ணில் பாவையன்றோ கண்ணம்மா என் உயிர் நின்னதன்றோ என் உயிர் நின்னதன்றோ என் உயிர் நின்னதன்றோ
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presence and blessings. Tomorrow we have a beautiful Harikatha again, presented by Sri Vinay Varanasi and Archana and Samanvi, all from our state of Karnataka. So, the day after, it will be a beautiful depiction of Panchabhuta Sthalas, the way acharyas have envisioned in Shaiva Siddhanta by the very, very talented Subhashri Tanikachalam. She will be present along with Madhusudan and Kalai Selvan. We have the beautiful talents that this Pradesham has given us. Varun will be there, and we will have various people. It's going to be a large production. I'm sure you would have all seen the details. Please be present for tomorrow and the day after as well. Thanks again. At the commencement, I thanked Satish and the entire team of Rajalakshmi Fine Arts for hosting us, and to all of you for being present.
Thank you, Ji, for a wonderful evening with none of us will forget. Before I miss, today is Dushyanth Ji's birthday. And it is great that we were able to share his special day with him on such a wonderful evening. Thank you once again. Thank you, Anahita Ji and Apoorva Ji, for being so soulful with your music here. And of course, my heartfelt thank goes to Shri Karthik Menon and Shri Nanda Gopal for having played so wonderfully well. And once again, from my heart, I normally don't speak after a program, but today I'm forced. I'm compelled to speak by my own self that it was such a fulfilling evening for all of us, and that this will forever remain with us. Thank you once again for having given us this evening.